Good. So when you're going to work out this using the I-law method, if you're going to apply the I-law method, the first thing you need to identify is what we call the cost driver. You need to identify the cost driver. In the exam, I believe you are not given X and Y, but you are supposed to identify X, whereby X is the activity level. Activity level, and then Y is now the total cost. Total cost. For you to get total cost, there is that fixed component, which is A. There's that fixed component, which is A. We normally call it Y. Y-intercept, whereby X is equivalent to 0. At that point, when X is equivalent to 0, you've not produced any unit, but you've already incurred some cost. Here, this one here, total fixed cost. That's what we call now. At this point, that's where we have the A. Y-intercept, when X is equal to 0, what is the value of Y? At that point, then we call it Y-intercept, the total fixed cost. At this point, the moment you start producing even one unit, then the cost now increases with increase in number of units. The cost now increases with increase in number of units. That is the variable component now. So from this point going forward, you are going to have the variable component. So the variable component is what we call B. And this B is the gradient of the curve. It's the gradient stroke slope of the curve. Remember, we are tackling this concept, the cost estimation, but now using graphical method. So these are some of the terms that you need to understand. Now, let's get back to this point of the cost driver. Under this, we have X and Y, the actual activity level. Y is now the total cost. This total cost here is dependent. It depends on the units of output, which is X. It depends on the units of output, which is X. So it means our total cost is determined by the activity level. Remember, the total fixed cost does not change. It is constant. It is constant, and therefore the changes now in the total cost will not depend on the fixed cost, will only depend on the variable. And that variable cost is being changed, or is now being determined by the units of output or activity level, which is X. Now, after knowing that, we know very well that now the cost driver here, it will determine independent variable. It is the independent variable. It does not depend on anything. It determines what the outcome will be. It determines what we'll have as the outcome. It is now the independent variable. This Y is now the dependent variable. Now, as you do this question here, first of all, the first thing you need to understand, are you able to identify X and Y? Are you able to identify X and Y? That is number one. Number two, after identifying them in this manner, then you now locate X, which is the cost driver. It determines what the outcome will be. And therefore, as you're going to do your analysis under I-law method, the pair that you are going to pick is determined by the values in column X, not column Y. The highest and the lowest value that you are going to pick is dependent on the values of column X, not Y. And that's why that question was done intentionally. It was placed there intentionally. I believe you got something of this kind, whereby the lowest value here was not corresponding to the lowest value in column X. So that's why we add these two groups. I come to column X here because I've known this is the cost driver. It will determine what my total cost will be. So at this point here, I will come here and look for the lowest value. I don't need to consider the value of y. No, that one does not matter. If I want to get the highest pair values, I come to column X, look for the lowest value. It is 18. So this is the lowest pair. I come to column X again, look for the highest value, which is 45. This becomes my highest value pair. And that's what I'm going to use to get the value of A and the value of B. With that, if you come to this point, and I believe I informed you that this question has got a space in your exams. So after looking at this, after identifying this, remember we said that this one here, for us to get the value of B, for us to get B, it is the gradient or slope of the curve. How do we get slope? So let's say our highest value is here and the lowest value is here. We look for the change. We look for the changes. Change in y over change in x. That is what we look for. Now at this point, what was the value after identifying the correct value here? We said that the highest value is 45, 500. At this point here, that pair, we are having 18, 200. So this group, drop that, then you continue with the other one. I believe you've known the reason. I believe I've now explained the reason for doing that. This is the pairs. At this point, we have 18, 200. At this point, we have 45, 500. So I come to this point and say, my slope, my gradient of the curve, this curve here, the total cost curve, is change in y over change in x. Change in y is the highest value of y minus the lowest value of y. At this point, the highest value pair is this one here. So I'll take 500, that is the value of y, minus the lowest value of y here, which is 200. Now, before even we proceed, for some questions, you are going to get A to be a negative. You are going to get the value of A to be a negative. Or value of B is going to be a negative. The moment you see that the highest value pair here, let's say this one here, you have 150. The corresponding value, let's say this 45 was corresponding to 150. You just have to take it because 45 is the highest for column X. So in that case, you'll find that your B will be a negative. The final answer for B will be a negative. So don't start changing the signs that it's a negative, yet it should not be a negative. No. Don't take it again that you have been told A is the total fixed cost. Then the moment you get a negative, you say total fixed cost cannot be a negative. And then you automatically ignore the sign. No. Those things are placed there intentionally to make you reason from that other side and then you move away from the answer. So that is it. Then we now look for the change in x. Change in x is now the highest value of x minus the lowest value of x. This one here will give you the value of b. Once you have the value of b, you pick any of the pairs. So let's say this pair is what we've picked, 45, 500. What does it represent? This 500 is the value of y. This 45 is the value of x. And your function says that y is equal to a plus bx. You now have y, 500, is equal to a, which you do not know, plus bx. You already have the value of b by solving this. Somebody should have posted it there. You now have the value of b by solving this. Then you come and say that value of b you multiply by x, which is 45. So 45 times the value of b, which you have here. By doing that, you now have only one unknown, whereby you say a is equal to 500 minus all these workings here, crossing to the other side. So here we have 11.11, if that is it. So this is what you are going to have. This times this, so this is the pair we are talking about. When it crosses the equal sign, it changes to a minus. You bring it here, and then you get the value of a. And then you get the value of a. So that's what you are expected to do in that particular question, which appeared in your CAT. In your exams, they might test that, or they bring the regression method. So I believe that's clear. I believe that is clear. Okay, I'm told it is 0.05, so your A is 0.05. And then the next question, Roman 2, they are telling you to give them what? The estimated total cost if estimated activity level or expected activity level is equivalent to either, they bring additional one here, let's say they want you to get for them 26. So what will be the total cost if activity level is 26? Once you've been able to calculate this, once you've been able to calculate this. So here, everything is provided. The only thing you are missing is X, and this is what they are provided. So your Y will be 0.05 plus 11.11. You multiply by 26 for you to be able to get the answer. That's all. You don't need to struggle. So let's see what somebody is mentioning there. Let's see something that has been mentioned by somebody. So I also want you to look at activity-based costing and the traditional, that one. Please ensure that you have a knowledge about that area. Then we have this concept under the activity-based costing, whereby you are doing the allocation, the overheads. The overheads whereby you are doing this, you are given material handling. You are given material handling. You are given stock, movement costs. You are given, and then after being given the overheads, you are being told down the allocation basis. Allocation basis is provided down here. You have number of employees, net book value. Then you do what? You do now the distribution of overheads. You do the distribution of these overheads, whereby you get the overhead absorption rate, then you multiply by the actual activity level or the allocation basis for you to be able to get the overheads shared to each department. Then at the end of the day, you are going to be given units for you to be able to get the cost per unit of output for each department. Please ensure that you are also conversant with that. Please explain the weighted average method tested in CAT. Price per unit or total. I will look at that. I'm experiencing a challenge with that topic of ABC as a whole. Begin the revision, let's give it a priority. Of course, the first 1 hour has always been our time for doing revision. So just spot or mention a specific question from a given sitting, we tackle it. So long as it is not what we covered during our discussion. If it is not there in the videos, then it's okay. But if it is there in the videos, please just go through the video. If it is exact question that is already in the videos that you already have, please just follow the video. Unless it is the same concept but not covered in our videos, then automatically we are going to discuss it here. We are going to discuss it here. So let me see, there's somebody mentioning about the April sitting. April sitting. Question number 5A. April sitting, question number 5A. Question number 5A is from which topic? The cost volume profit, analysis. The cost volume profit analysis. Very interesting. The cost volume profit analysis, but I think I covered that in one of the videos. Go to topic number 8 section. I think that one was covered in the videos. It was covered in the videos. It was covered in the videos. What you need to know is just this. This is enough. This formula here is enough, which we normally call contribution margin. Then when you want to get it in sales, total fixed cost over contribution margin ratio. The contribution margin ratio is basically equivalent to sales minus variable cost, or total revenue. So let's talk about total revenue minus total variable cost to get contribution margin. When you now divide it by the total revenue, you're going to get the contribution margin ratio. That is what you need to know. Then they tell you, that's what the examiner is doing. So if you take the approach of selling price per unit minus variable cost, if you want to get that, they are now varying one of the elements in the formula. At first, they are telling you, what if we reduce the selling price by this percentage? What if we reduce or increase the variable cost by this percentage or by this amount? What will happen to our break-even point in units? What will happen to our break-even point if we interfere with the total fixed cost? That is what they are testing. That's what you need to know. In that question, do you have the items that can add up to the total variable cost per unit? Are you able to get the total fixed cost items? For example, in that question, Quivo Limited manufactures and sells single product branded QV. The following information relates to the product for the month of March 2023. We have materials. Materials is direct cost. It's a variable cost, 800. Conversion cost. The topic number 6 that we are going to tackle, the moment you have your direct material, direct labor, then overhead, production overheads. So remember this topic, we are not going to consider whether variable or fixed. Here, in topic number 6, you only need direct material. Any other cost that you are going to incur to convert this raw material to finished product, is called, this cost here, any other cost that you are going to incur is called conversion costs. So direct labor is already there. Variable production overhead, even fixed production overhead, you're going to find that they are all going to be called conversion costs. The conversion costs are now some of the items in that category. Now, we have conversion costs, which is variable. They have now specified that these conversion costs, they are variable. It means your total. Remember, you are interested in getting variable cost per unit. Variable cost per unit, because that's what this formula works with. It is selling price minus variable cost per unit. Any fixed cost will be added up here, not down or in the numerator or in the denominator. So here, for one of the items there, we have direct material of 800 plus conversion cost of 600. Do we have any other variable cost in the question? Do we have any other variable cost in the question? So this one here becomes your variable cost. Do you have fixed cost? Additional information number 2. The total fixed cost during the period was 25 million. Then they want to do comparison of 2 different scenarios. So it means if you have the selling price as well, It's already given there as 2,000. So getting your contribution margin is very simple. It is S minus V, which you already have. Then from that point, you can now get your break-even point in units. That question is there in the videos. That's why I don't want to redo it. Please explain. Okay, that is it. We are going to look at that, or total value of units provided the price per unit. Okay, you're going to look at that. Then which question are you tackling? I'm just giving a concept on the April sitting question number 5A, but it is there in the videos. So I'll just pick it as a single video, post it there in the group, and then you look at it. And then you look at it. So we can now move to this. We can now move to this topic number 6. If there's anything that you need to understand during revision, then the first 1 hour is always meant for revision. You should be maximizing that time. So when we talk about product costing, okay, we are going to look at it. Product costing, here you can be offering physical goods. You can be offering physical goods,